For more on all this, let's welcome former Council of Economic Advisors Chair Kevin Hassett. Kevin, great to see you. Thank you for being here. I have to start with something. It's not very economic in orientation, but his statement, Biden's statement, that Donald Trump didn't build a damn thing. President Biden, God love him, he's been in office, one political office or another his entire life. He's been redistributing what other people built. Maybe you can argue whether that's good or not, but it's not actually building things. It's just rehashing what other people do. But he says that Trump never built a damn thing. Your comments?
Yeah, obviously that's just, politics. But Biden really is challenged when it comes to talking about the economy and the truth. And of course, if you think about President Trump, he almost finished the wall and Biden opened it up so, supposedly antelope could go through, right? And now we've got an immigration crisis unlike anything we've ever seen. And so, Biden, if he had built something, could have helped. But if you go back to what he just said in your intro, it's unbelievable. To say that President Trump was one of only two presidents where there are fewer jobs at the end. Well, we had the COVID pandemic shutdown.
There was that,
and then as soon as that ended, because President Trump got vaccines to everybody, then it came roaring back and he claims credit for those jobs. It's just awful. It's just awful.
And what was the actual economic effect of the Trump policies, the Trump economic policies, in terms of bringing businesses back to America? Biden claims they were leaving and only he brought them back. What's the truth in that?
Right. Well, the fact is that we passed corporate tax cuts that made it so that the U.S. is an attractive place to locate again. And we changed the international tax laws so that firms didn't really have an incentive to put everything in Ireland anymore. And there's this massive wave of investment and growth in the U.S. in response to that. And in fact, one of the metrics of it that I think is most interesting is you go back and look before our corporate tax cuts, what the CBO said corporate revenue would be this year. It's actually higher than that, which is a metric of how effective the tax cuts were. And of course, there's deregulation and other things. But Trump had a very, very successful economy. He had 3% growth. He had lowest unemployment rate ever for minorities, the highest wage growth ever for minorities. Wage growth at the bottom 10% was higher than for any other decile.
Let's talk about that in particular.
Basically lost in the stats because of COVID.
Yeah. But let's talk about the blue collar workers, which he claims, President Biden claims to represent. He's done so all his life. He says, I represent blue collar union workers. How did they fare during the pre-pandemic Trump years, the blue collar workers?
Blue collar wages were up enormously, about $6,500 per family for blue collar workers. And the bottom line, though, is that if blue collar workers are doing so well under Biden, then why is the UAW having this really, really contentious negotiation that's likely to lead to a really, really long strike? If you look at the things that they're saying, the UAW, they're saying, hey, our wage is worth 30% less than the last contract because of all of this Biden inflation. They won't endorse Biden. And they're also complaining about all of these green jobs that they're subsidizing electric cars. Well, electric cars don't really need auto workers, right? It's like a battery and a motor. And so they're going to lose maybe 200,000 jobs if we switch to electric cars. And so I think that blue collar workers are upset with Biden for a reason. And that's why the poll numbers look the way you said.
And there were a lot of union blue collar, well-paying blue collar jobs in the fossil fuel business that have departed as a result of his focus on green energy. Now, he's always saying that those jobs will be supplanted with even better paying green jobs. What's the truth to that?
Well, in fact, the green jobs are worse paying. And in fact, if you go and look and read into the details of the UAW strike that's coming, the people who are making the electric cars or working on the battery plant in Tennessee make way, way less than the people who are making old-fashioned gas-powered cars in Michigan. And so, it's really clear that the green jobs are commodity jobs. They don't require the kind of skill that those great blue-collar workers at GM have, and that's why they're striking. They're literally mentioning the subsidy for electric cars as one of the big threats to the future of their jobs and their company.
Kevin, final question. We got to jump, but I want you to give us your best prediction of what do you think the economy is going to be looking like as we really head into the election season, say after 2024, January 2024 onward.
It's going to be, very much in recession next year. The fact is that inflation is roaring up again. If you look, the price of oil is almost back to $90 a barrel.
That's right.
The CPI now, the Cleveland Fed estimates for August is almost 1% for the month as a whole, in part because of gas prices. And so all that stuff is going to make the Fed have to crack down harder than they have. And I think by the time the election comes around, then the Fed will either have controlled inflation and walloped the economy, or they will have not controlled inflation, in which case everybody's going to be so upset because their real wage is lower. And so I think either way, the economy is going to be a big negative for Biden.
Kevin Hassett, good to see you, my friend. Thank you very much for coming in. Appreciate it.